No country should have to go through this. Those words from the Ukrainian president after what authorities call a, quote, massive drone strike on a residential area of Kharkiv. Emergency personnel say that at least 9 people were injured, including a 12-year-old girl. And Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky is in Paris right now for a meeting of the so-called Coalition of the Willing. This is a group of some 30 Western nations that have pledged to help defend Ukraine against Russia. That summit is underway right now at the Elysee Palace. The French president lashed out of the Kremlin earlier, saying that it should not dictate the conditions for peace after Russia demanded some sanctions be eased before halting the fighting in the Black Sea. President Zelensky says that sanctions against Moscow must stay in place as long as Russia is occupying Ukrainian territory. And he called on the U.S. to help secure a Black Sea agreement without the Kremlin's conditions.
We expect the American side to secure the unconditionality of silence in the sea. This is not the time to reduce pressure on Russia or to weaken our unity for peace. We need more strong, joint steps to ensure that there will be peace, just peace, durable peace. Sanctions must remain in force on Russia and must be increased as long as Russian occupation continues.
CNN's Fred Peiken following all of this live force from Moscow. Fred, what's Russia's perspective on these comments from Zelensky?
Yeah, I was actually in touch yesterday, Rahel, with the Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov, and he said, look, from Russia's perspective, they said that the last time there was a deal in place for free navigation on the Black Sea, which was from July 2022 to July 2023, until that deal then went out of force. The Russians are saying that was supposed to be part of the deal as well. There would be sanctions relief and a lifting of sanctions on Russia's agricultural bank and some other entities that are related to Russian shipping. And the reason the Russians say why they want all of that is that because they feel that if the Ukrainians are going to be able to ship their goods, especially, of course, grain, through the Black Sea easily, and the Russians still have the sanctions on their sectors, that the Russians would then, on international markets, be at a disadvantage compared to Ukraine, and that would only make things more difficult. So the Russians are saying it's something that was in the last agreement. They say that was not fulfilled in the last agreement. So it's definitely something that they're not going to budge on. And the Kremlin spokesman certainly making clear that the Russians are not going to enact this deal unless those demands are met. One of the other interesting things that he also hinted at is that he believes that Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, hasn't yet fully grasped the rapprochement, the new relations that are sort of forming right now between Russia and the United States, where the Trump administration, of course, has taken a lot of Russia's views into account when making some of the decisions as far as the Ukraine conflict is concerned. So the Russians are saying that is something, of course, also needs to be looked at. And if we look at the statements that came out, Rahel, after those talks happened in Riyadh at the beginning of the week, the U.S. did then say that they will try to facilitate Russia bringing its goods to the international market. So certainly the Russians are saying that's something that they definitely want to happen. But all of this, of course, also shows how difficult the process is, how difficult it will be to get a full ceasefire to come into effect, where the Russians are saying if the underlying causes, the root causes of the conflict in Ukraine are not solved, then the ceasefire simply won't go into effect at all. So that's definitely something where there certainly still seems to be a long and very difficult road ahead, Rahel.
Yeah, and certainly a lot of questions, I think, as a lot of leaders try to come to terms and fully grasp what this new relationship looks like between Russia and the U.S. Fred Peiken for us in Moscow. Fred, thank you.